think to many of our listeners who are wanting to get into this domain of procurement and finance, I would say this is a great example of where they need to be reskilling themselves. Maybe highlight a point or two in that direction, Ashley. What are some things that you would like to see in your team, come up with the kind of competencies in a procurement team that would be useful to you at this time and stage of life, if you call it that way, with everything being AI?
And again, another solid question. It's hard to be succinct in some of these answers, but I'll try to at least hit two or three of the key attributes for a good strategic sourcing person, and then maybe where the intersection of AI is on that. So I think the first attribute is, and I've joked about this in the past with other folks, but um, a good negotiator is someone who, for example, if you said, "Hey, I'm thinking about buying a car. I want to go to the dealership." If your friend says, "I want to go with you. I'm going to pack a lunch and we're going to go help you buy a car," that's someone who's actually actively engaged in the process, because it is, again, it's lengthy and it can be heavy. But if someone's like, "But I have an interest in the outcome," that person's going to be much more successful. If you dread negotiating for a car, if you dread um, haggling for a price, it's not a great fit, and that's fine. There's other things that those folks can do. I think the second strong attribute is that you have to be able to consume the right amount of data and then distill that data into action. In other words, someone's going to ask you a question. It's a business related question, and you have to be able to go to enough data or the right data and then say, the data tells me the answer to your question is, why. And those analytic skills, they can be taught. Where does AI intersect with that? Obviously, if you're saying, I need to look at, in my simple example, I'm looking at 6 suppliers and I'm trying to compare some specific attribute, AI might be able to step in and take 18 decks across four different types and pull all that together into a simplistic view that allows you to be able to see the answer to that data driven question. The last thing I would say, though, is, um, and I say this with humility, AI is a wonderful tool in the toolbox, but it is also maturing. You need to also make sure that anytime you're relying on AI to do analysis, to answer questions, even if it's something that you feel like is simple, trust but verify. Don't just assume that because you've asked a tool that mimics human action and human outcomes, that the answers are fully vetted. Give yourself a few times to kind of refine your questioning and test your answers to make sure that you can then trust those responses that you're getting are good. But outside of that,
Yeah.
I would actually say back to the audience, as as people watch this, is you're probably using AI casually in your everyday. If you use social media, if you're using text and chat tools, there's a lot of things being integrated there. Test it, play with
Mm.
it, kind of get a feel for how it works, because that's what you're going to need. How do you write prompts that actually serve the outcomes that you need? And then how do you, again, narrow the flashlight of all, this massive set of information into a very narrow, usable set of information, like signal to noise type stuff.